What's up, Sarah? Welcome back to Tech It to the Limit for this Friday, July 4th. Happy birthday month. Happy birthday, America, I guess. Oh, that's right. You're July 4th. Happy birthday.
I am, man. Today's my freaking birthday.
That's right. You and America, you share a birthday. They're your much older sister.
Yeah. Cue the guitar, cheesy guitar riff solos.
I know. I'm recovering from pride to go right into our birthday month is very, very hard.
Patriotism. Yeah, and it's also, as you mentioned, it's your birthday month, just 10 days after.
I'm turning 39 for the third time.
What? See if you can do the math, listeners. And to celebrate our birthday month, our second 40th birthday together, I'm coming to the Big Apple. Yeah, that's right. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know what's going on. If not, Elliott's doing an awesome dance. So you can look forward on the socials to seeing some amazing selfies of the two co-hosts.
All over Central Park. We're going to have so much fun.
Central Park.
All over Central Park.
Podcast co-host Storm Central Park. Oh, my gosh.
Listeners, we have a great show for you folks today. We have a good friend of mine, Elizabeth Boudreau, coming to talk to us about what it's like to be a founder, give us a day in the life of a founder. She is fresh off her amazing stint at AWS as she launches her new business, her new venture, a practical acceleration. We're excited to have her. She has some really great insights for founders. But before we get into our guest and our interview, Sarah, it wouldn't be Tech It to the Limit if we didn't have some kind of new game. So what do we got for us today?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a fun little theatrical performance that we're going to put on for you listeners today. Today on the pod, we have a pitch so bad that it should come with a medical disclaimer. I'm going to be playing a delusional health tech founder unveiling a product, SnoreSense, which is an AI-powered pillow that, air quotes, listens to your snores and judges them accordingly. Elliott, in full skeptical VC mode, tries to make sense of the nonsense. It's everything not to do in a startup pitch, complete with buzzwords, imaginary FDA phases, and a business model that vibrates but doesn't work. So tune in the next 30 seconds for 4 minutes of pure snore-powered chaos.
Oh my gosh, where do I get a business model that vibrates?
Right? I think it's at the Smitten Kitten.
All right, let's do this. Okay. Get into character. All right,
ready?
Yes.
Totally. Gotta be prepped. And action. Meet SnoreSense, the first ever emotionally intelligent Bluetooth-enabled pillow that listens to your snoring and responds with precision haptics to reposition your head. It's sleep meets surveillance, but make it cozy.
So it's a pillow that vibrates.
It intuitively vibrates. It doesn't just detect snoring, it interprets it. Our proprietary algorithm analyzes velocity, duration, and emotional undertones of the snore. Angry snores, sad snores, snobby snores, you name it.
Emotional undertones, I assume you have some kind of clinical validation for all of this?
Validation is a journey, Elliott. We're in a stealth empathy phase, but our intern's roommate said it felt kind of like being judged by a marshmallow, which we took as a net positive statement.
Oh, okay, sure. All right, so let's talk about TAM. What is your total addressable market? Who is your target user?
People who snore. People who live with people who snore, people who have ever heard a snore, sleep-deprived couples, light sleepers, people with ears. Honestly, everyone with a head and regrets.
That's not a target market. That's a census.
Exactly. We estimate our TAM to be everyone alive minus newborns for now.
Uh-huh. Great. And how are you going to make money?
Our core offering is $800, and then a $50 monthly subscription unlocks Snore Score Plus, where you get a personalized shame graph, push alerts for snore clusters, and for your partner, automatic texts that say, "You're not crazy, they're really snoring."
So your value prop is cyberbullying during REM sleep?
Customer engagement tripled when we added the passive-aggressive notifications. People want sleep accountability, Elliott. They just don't know it yet.
Oh, yeah, right. So any clinical partners?
We had a call with a dentist last week. Maybe it was a podcaster, actually. Either way, he said, huh?
What about regulatory clearance?
We're not FDA approved, but we are FDA aware.
That's deeply concerning.
But here's the kicker. Gen Z loves this product because it's not invasive, vibey, and comes in 3 mood board inspired colors: burnt anxiety, quiet beige, and tech bro graphite.
Of course it does. Let me guess. You've sold how many units?
3. 2 to my mom and 1 to a podcast guest who thought it was a beanbag. But early churn is 0, and they haven't figured out how to unsubscribe.
Okay. All right. And what's your ask here?
$18 million for 2% equity, post-money valuation $900 million, pre-revenue, but post-vision.
I'm sorry, I blacked out at 18 mil.
We're also planning to launch a B2B expansion into hospitals. We call it Snore Sense Stat, where pillows whisper HIPAA-compliant affirmations to patients during recovery. You're healing, slowly, but maybe faster if you breathe through your nose.
Okay. This pitch has violated ethics, logic, and probably multiple building codes by now.
Disruption is supposed to be uncomfortable, Elliot, like sleeping next to someone with untreated sleep apnea.
You know what? Against everything, all my better judgment, I am in. But just for the entertainment rights, this is clearly a Hulu docuseries waiting to happen.
Brilliant! Snoreflix and chill, baby.
And scene.
Scene. That was wicked fun.
Oh my God.
Can we do this every episode?
I love it's like Gen Z loves this project because it's non-invasive and vibey.
Vibey is totally part of the value prop for that generation.
Oh my God. So listen, what's the lesson here for founders? Founders, come correct. Don't do what Sarah just did.
Correct. Hey, the lesson is tune into our interview with Elizabeth Boudreau because she has some great insights for you.
Absolutely.
And coming up next, we have an interview with Elizabeth Boudreau about the day in the life of a health tech founder.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
Ever wake up with 83 browser tabs open, 12 Teams channels pinging, and 0 idea how your day got hijacked? You need Boundary Bouncer, the only AI calendar assistant trained to protect your time, your energy, and your rapidly eroding sense of self. Unlike other productivity tools that autofill your day with back-to-back burnout, Boundary Bouncer features ethical auto snooze on got 15 minutes, meetings, smart domestic task delegation to partners who forget you both have jobs outside the home, and our signature Just Say No coach, ready to intervene when your boss wonders if you could own one more high-visibility, low-resourced project. Boundary Bouncer. It doesn't just optimize your calendar, it enforces your boundaries. And for a limited time, Tech It to the Limit listeners can enter promo code ISAIDNO to protect their peace and save absolutely nothing because this product is fake, but the struggle is very real. Boundary Bouncer, now available wherever overachievers finally hit pause.
Welcome back to Tech It to the Limit, listeners. Ready to accelerate? Today's guest has done more than just talk digital transformation. She's built it, scaled it, and now teaches others how to do it faster and smarter. Please welcome Elizabeth Boudreau, principal and co-founder of Practical Acceleration and the healthcare strategist who makes disruption look elegant in a red suit. Elizabeth's career spans executive roles at Amazon Web Services, where she led U.S. healthcare sales, workforce development, and global provider strategy. From launching Amazon's first consumer diagnostic offering during the COVID-19 pandemic, that's right, the first, to helping health systems around the world adopt cloud tech at scale, she knows what it means to build under pressure and innovate without a playbook. Now, through her consulting firm, she partners with government and healthcare leaders to do one thing: go faster with purpose. But today, we're slowing down to get real about what it's like to be a founder, especially as a woman in tech. The lessons no one teaches, the moments no one posts about, and the days that start with vision and end with 83 browser tabs open and 3 Slack channels named urgent. Welcome to Tech It to the Limit, Elizabeth. Can we call you Elizabeth?
Yes, please.
It is so great to have you here. We like to kick off all of our sessions with our guests. We invite them, be they dad or be they not, to share with us their favorite dad joke. Do you have one that you can share with us?
I do, and I'm going to put the mom spin on it.
Yes. I love that.
Why is the computer so smart? It listens to its motherboard.
Yes! Oh my gosh, favorite.
I love
that's going
that.
in the Tech It to the Limit Dad Joke Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, for sure.
Welcome, Elizabeth. Excited to have you on the show. I've got the first serious question coming your way. So you are on the Tequity Advisory Committee with the Health Foundation. For folks who haven't encountered that term before, can you tell us what is Tequity? How do we know when we're doing it right? And how do we keep Tequity from becoming just another buzzword? Because we definitely have plenty of those.
There are plenty, and more than plenty. So let's start with the text from the Health Equity Foundation. Tequity is healthcare, technology plus health equity. The intentional design, development, and distribution of technology to improve outcomes for underserved patients, address structural inequities in healthcare. So let's talk about what the variations of that really mean. It's ensuring equitable access, use, and engagement with technology, because we need to address all the disparities and really promote inclusive outcomes. But I think, especially as we get to the world of AI, prevent unintended negative consequences. So really, in essence, Tequity aims to bridge the digital divide and ensure that technology benefits everyone, not just the select few. So we want to think about this, making it accessible, making it usable, but we also want to think about it regardless of your background or location. So things that we need to think about: digital literacy, technology access, and making sure we have clear, transparent plans for successful implementation. Why do I think that's important? Everybody gets used to the 80-20 rule. We start with the majority when we're planning and designing product. Tequity is the opposite. Start with those that are othered. They're the minority that usually comes later, needs to be our starting point. Serve them first. Make sure your product or your solution is actually solving issues and problems for them. But how do you do that? Ask, include them in design, include them in development and the implementation. So Tequity ultimately advocates that the creation of technology is inclusive and accessible to diverse communities, but including all of the factors: language, cultural background, and most importantly, abilities.
So
Fantastic.
That's great. But I have to ask though, right? Because this is really important, because there's it seems in direct contrast with private equity and VC funding to be going after something that is where you're not driving to scale first. You're starting with the 20%. You're starting with the marginalized group first, right? How do those things line up? How do they meet up?
I think we think of the rare as a few, but even if we think about rare disease is 10% of the population. It's not 0.1% or 1%. Those who we've othered are bigger. So the Black, Latinx, Indigenous, people of color, and women, that's collectively 70% of the population. So you asked, how do we keep it from being a buzzword? Let's keep it data focused. Let's show where it is important. In Full Health, that community, I love the work they're doing here. So they've really said, look at the business case for healthcare innovation and business. So now we know 70% of the population is who we're going after. So now we are close to 80%. Yet they're receiving 10% of new venture funds and manage less than 1.3% of the investment dollars. So let's contract that to what doing good looks like. Greater diversity is a 19% higher revenue, 9% higher margins, but when we get down to it, it's 33% or higher quality care. So we're giving better care, we're doing it financially responsibly, and we're doing it to the primary general population, because the rare is not the less.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I would say, just to add on to that, Elliott, I mean, I want to challenge the question, the follow-up you had, because it's about market segmentation, right? I mean, even if we're talking about 70% of the population that's not being engaged in technological design in this industry, we do this all the time when we are developing new products and services for any market. We segment the market, we identify where the greatest opportunities to create value are, and we go after them. So these are just different customer segments, if we want to get really crude about it, that haven't been designed for yet. And to be very cold and businesslike, there's a lot of untapped opportunity there.
Okay, so just real quick, just so you both understand, I am not arguing with you.
Oh, I know. I would just like to see you on your heels. You're like, wait. I'm one of you.
But there is a financial and business model that doing good and making money are not mutually exclusive.
Thank you.
100%. And we've talked about that. We talked about the ROI of DEI 2 shows ago, right? I mean, as you put it, I love the fact that you came with numbers. She came with receipts. Sarah.
I personally like to refer to it as the Roy of Day, but, it's totally up to you.
All right. So given your role in Tequity, given your role in helping startups kind of scale out with this kind of moral lens and moral clarity, from your perspective, what does the digital health startups landscape even look right now? Where do you think that we have oversaturation, and where do we see blue ocean? How do you advise founders to navigate a market that's simultaneously contracting and exploding depending on who's pitching and who you're pitching to?
Well, you can't go to any meeting these days without hearing AI. So
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
The 2 letters of interest to everybody, but depending on what meeting you're on or the time of day, you're in a different part of the hype cycle around AI. And I worry that we're oversaturating the use of a helpful technology, but not thinking through the application well enough. So a fellow Tequity colleague uses this phrase, and I love it. Health moves at the speed of trust. So as we think about new startups, the more you're producing a black box of I don't know what, you're going to have an uphill fight. So the ability to enact change needs to be important, but that blue space to me is where technology disappears into the background. So what do I mean by that? Let's think about ambient voice, digital scribes. I want it to happen in the background. I want to look at my doctor in the face. I don't want to look at their laptop back, their monitor back. I want to look at my clinician during my visit. Those technologies now remove the physical barrier between me, but allows them to interact with me. So the more I can think about technology being less prevalent, but enabling human connection, that's where I think there's blue ocean still. I think the startups need to make the tech disappear to make adoption easier. And then as we think about it, tech's the hard part, tech's easy, humans are hard. So we need to think about these tech changes into how to be much more integrated into human connection. And I think that's the blue ocean space, is creating human connection in healthcare again, not separation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like tech is that invisible enabler of human connection. Like you said, I kind of imagine it being like the fairy godmother, in Cinderella, where it's just sort of gently nudging the romance into position, right?
Yeah,
we don't know if she's there, but man, she's making that magic happen.
Yeah.
I want it whispering in the ear. Did you order that lab? Do you remember that the lab result was this? You should ask about that.
Right.
It doesn't need to be loud. Even the patient doesn't hear it. But I love the fairy godmother, the whisper in the ear, the looking at the full picture that the doc may not have done the prep notes for, whatever. I think, but it allows that ability to actually bring that human connection, which is why most people go into medicine, to take care of humans.
It can't stop working at 12 midnight. That's like that's my only
Go to
concern.
an ER. ER don't stop at midnight.
It's like
Santa.
oh no, my AI turned into a pumpkin. Oh no.
I thought that was just really like you try to do bronzer. Okay, Elliott, I've got the next serious question for you, Elizabeth, and I'm excited to ask this one as a staunch feminist myself. What's it like navigating tech and entrepreneurship as a woman today? Are we making progress or just rewriting the old scripts in new fonts? What do you want the next generation of female founders in digital health to know or maybe to unlearn?
I wish I could say it's so much better. It is better, but yes, there's still so much more to do. So I am encouraged by many of the female leaders who are being true to themselves, their beliefs, and putting the money behind all of that. So I like to point to Mackenzie Scott. She's rewriting the script of funding, making incredible impact. I hope that inspires more, not just women, but everybody to follow. The idea of reducing grant application hoops, surprising deserving groups with grants, but in the end, unequivocally being true to you and what you're doing. That to me is a difference I'm seeing in women. I also am seeing a lot of female founders and leaders pushing back. They need to and still have to fight. We know even female founders, not only are you getting funded less, if you are getting in the C-suite, you're getting paid less. Closer, but it's not equal. I see a lot of allies fighting for that. And it is, I think, an allied fight. It's not an us to them, it's an everyone. And so I think, well, there's much to be done for making it. But as I think about the next generation and what do I want them to say yes to the unknown more. So if I think about my career, I've been asked to take on roles and projects that I had absolutely no experience in. And I had the philosophy of say yes and figure it out. And often that works. Growth happens when you're uncomfortable. And I think that philosophy of being uncomfortable, I hate calling it imposter syndrome. It's growth. Lean into the growth, and that's where your next opportunity is.
So what I'm hearing you say is Sarah's just constantly trying to get me to grow for how much she makes me uncomfortable.
But
it's her allyship, of course.
right. Aw.
Sarah, since you're the staunch feminist, what do you think about that?
I love the say yes to the unknown more, right? Oftentimes we can hinder ourselves more than anybody else can. I love that growth happens when you're uncomfortable. I couldn't agree with that more. I think authenticity in the female leader is definitely becoming more trendy. I would agree with you on that front. You're seeing people feel more comfortable with strong feminine approaches in the office. But I think we have a gap, not just in pay, but in women going after opportunities because there's an inequity in the division of labor at home. And so people say no to things and don't take risks because they're like, well, who's going to pick up all the toys and do the laundry and sign the kids up for camps and run the finances if I say yes to this opportunity at work? So I think we need equity in the office, but also equity at home. And it's kind of an interesting space that people are trying to navigate as couples right now, at least same-sex couples.
I think it's interesting
opposite-sex couples.
Well, I think
you get what I'm talking about.
Totally not just to the whole return to office. Who is being mostly affected by that? Women who were able to have flexibility that are now feeling it being taken away, or maybe they had children while they were in that mode and have to come up with an entirely new one. My family life, we are a gender swapped family. I'm the breadwinner. My husband's a stay-at-home dad, and that's how it works for us. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But to your point, if I was still doing everything that was a traditional mom job, as well as my business, some ball is going to get dropped. They're not all going to be in the air.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of a prerequisite to date me that you be okay with my strength at the office and willing to take on more of a nurturing role at home. That's just on my dating application profile intake form. Kind of weeds out anybody who's not interested in that kind of lifestyle.
I laugh, but I got married a little later in life and we had that discussion. We'll live here. You can be the primary caregiver and we'll live in the town near your family and I get whatever job I want and be supported. And we made that decision before we got married. So I totally get it. It was not a non-negotiable, but a really important decision point for us.
Mm-hmm. So I think the takeaway there for listeners is have those conversations before you get into a serious relationship, because it really does impact if you're an ambitious, innovative female in this space. You shouldn't have to choose between career and family. You just need the right supports to have both, right? We wouldn't ask men to make that same choice, right? So just be prepared to have that conversation with your partner.
My first week back from maternity leave with my first child, I was in Las Vegas to give a talk. No, I don't recommend this to anybody. But my husband walked around Las Vegas with a baby strapped to the front of him. One, he had never seen The Hangover. Two, he's almost 6'6", and he thought he was hysterical. Now, had I walked around with a baby strapped to my chest, even though I was the expert HIPAA speaker, I would have been vilified. How dare you bring a baby into a casino? How dare you bring smoke environment or business environment? He was white gloved in every place he walked for 4 days. with a
Wow.
P.
I'm sorry, what's wrong with this?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way you should be treated, Elizabeth. But that's a really interesting juxtaposition. I appreciate you sharing that.
All right, so as a man, I feel like it's my job to interject here,
No.
and insert myself, and just maybe ask the next question. Elizabeth, when we're thinking about founders, like a lot of us get into our heads that the founder life is just pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch, and maybe that's true. But what does it really look like to be a founder and a day to day? What does a typical day look like for a founder, and from the nitty gritty perspective? And I'm also kind of curious, what does it never look like, even though we might think it looks that way?
So I think building on what we were just talking about, I haven't had anything I would call a typical day in 10 years, at least. I haven't been office-based in a long time. I traveled 80% for 8 years. I don't know what typical means. I think there's aspects of a day that are typical. There's emails, there's meetings. I'm a reader. I'm always checking things out. There's lots of planning. But I read all these articles. People have these successful business morning routines. I have none of that. I'm very clear. I have none of that. To me, my focus, maybe I could focus better and have order in my chaos of life if I did that. But, I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a founder. I'm a mentor, friend, daughter, wife, pick lots of more words. But really, I'm just somebody who needs to get stuff done. And that's what my day is. So how do I do it? I'm a list addict. I live and die by a calendar. If it's not in one of those two places, it's not happening. My business partner is on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. So our overlap hours are not all day. I know I have space in the morning to get the stuff done that's more individual. I like to write in the morning and get the harder stuff done. I know I'll do meetings through the middle, and then I'll disappear and he'll have his afternoon to do his work. So we make sure we're balancing from that perspective. So I don't think there ever is a normal. I don't know that listening to somebody else's normal will ever work for the next person other than maybe as an inspiration.
I can appreciate that everyone has individual approaches to success, right? In terms of like your day to day. But I love what you said, like, what the heck is a typical day, right? I mean, really. But it sounds like you do have certain routines and habits that work for you. And I think it is helpful to share those because some people will be like, oh, I've never thought of that. I might try it, right? I don't know that you can just like sign up to become a list addict though. I mean, that's like really something that's baked into your DNA or it's not, right?
In our house, we are now forbidden to have checklist paper. My husband has rescinded it from me because it was bleeding into the household.
That's where it's needed the most, man.
Oh, no. Although my latest, I'll share, I wasn't asked, but I'm just like, I'm obsessed with this. Okay. I'm a list addict too. So you brought it up. My latest is like telling Siri to add something to my list. And so I strategically name my reminders lists, things like shopping or work. I'll say add a work reminder to do X and I don't have to write it down. Right. And I can even tell it like the day and the time I want it to get done. But, you're moving throughout your day, you're working out, maybe you're in between meetings, you're taking care of something for your kid, and something comes to you and you can only hold it in your head for so long and you don't always have time to stop and write it down or like whip out that checklist. Maybe it's not even with you. So I love being able to tell Siri to do that for me. It's amazeballs.
Okay. I haven't played with voice notes. The other thing I learned is I love to just empty my brain before I start something. So I'll make a list that is ridiculously long and half the things will never even actually happen. But then I've taken on the technique of getting the standard Post-it note and writing 3 to 5 things that has to happen in a day.
Good for you.
That's the thing that I'll work on first. And then I can look at all of the diatribe that I've pulled out of my brain. But what is the must do of the day?
Mm-hmm. Good for you. You're like pulling from that backlog. This is what's achievable.
A good agile. I am a recovering PMP, so it's still ingrained.
I don't think Elliott's willing to admit that in a group yet.
I'm not recovering.
Exactly.
I am deep in it and proud of it.
Right?
Active.
He's converting new
That's right.
transcripts. Elizabeth, what's a piece of advice that you would like to give new founders in the health tech space that tends to surprise them? Maybe something that you've shared before and they're like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And I'm curious, does this change across gender lines for you? Or is there sort of a universal piece of advice that you would give to every new founder?
So one of the things somebody had just said to me, and I've reflected a lot on it in the last couple of months going into founder mode, is, we hear founder mode and grinding it out. I have actually not taken that approach. I've taken the approach that there are seasons and stages of your life, and you can do certain things at certain times that you can't do at others. I am not in the stage and season of my life like I was in my 20s, where I could work crazy hours and stay up late and run around like crazy. That doesn't work for me right now. I very explicitly, with my business partner, when we started this company, said, we are building a sustainable company for us and our lives. We both have families. We are not that young anymore, but we want this to continue and grow. And if we burn ourselves up out front, we're not going to do that. So we actually probably made the anti-choice of not running into the ground, but plan for that season of whatever you're in. And know that you don't stay there forever. It will change. It will evolve. I say my career progression looks like the game of chutes and ladders. There's no linear progression. It goes up, it goes down, it goes left, it goes right. But the combination is what's amazing. And often I've been referred to as the non-traditional candidate because of that. I don't know, whatever. But for me, it's my path. And I encourage people to find their own path and be okay with it. So I guess that's my theme of all of this, right? It's being true to yourself, being true to where you are, true to what you want to be and what you want to grow. Because not all of us are looking to grow a business that's a unicorn or the next mega millionaire. I would like to be successful. I would like to have a family life that's happy. And that's what success is for me in this stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love that. I think that's really important. That people let success be defined for themselves by external things, as opposed to finding what is intrinsically valuable to them. I'm very much like with you, Elizabeth. It is important for me to spend the time that I have on Earth enjoying my time on Earth, not working to achieve some far off future success that TikTok tells me I need to be listening or looking for, right? I want snuggles with my kids. I want movie night or escape room night with my husband. And I want to be challenged in the work that I do so that I can find meaning in the work that I do. And I don't have expensive tastes. I just need to make enough to live and enjoy that, right?
And I think what Sarah said earlier, negotiating that and having that conversation. For my husband, the rule was we eat dinner as a family. Some nights it's at 5 o'clock, some nights it's at 8 o'clock. And it might be because somebody's got a baseball practice. It might be because I have a meeting. I ran global teams for multiple years, so my time zones were crazy. But I blocked my calendar and we ate dinner as a family. And that is sacred in our house and pretty non-negotiable. So making those claims, I love what you said right now. It's for me, I walk away and I've been playing board games with my kids at night. That's my time. And so communicating your needs with not only your family, but your business partners and the people you work with so that you don't make assumptions. You're just, clarity is kindness.
Yeah, no, I think that's excellent. And I appreciate that for our listeners that are interested, or maybe, they're a freshly minted founder or they're thinking of becoming one, that there are different ways to be a founder. As you mentioned earlier in this answer, like you're the opposite of founder mode, right? And it's not like either or, right? You can have both as long as you take that intentional effort to be self-aware about what you're capable of right now, what your support systems look like, what your values are, and then build the kind of company that's going to support that lifestyle for you.
Absolutely. And one of the questions I've been asked lately is like, what's your favorite app of the moment? For me, it's my watch telling me how much I've slept, because since I've moved into my home mode, I've actually seen 8 hours show up, and I can't remember the last time I slept 8 hours in a night.
Congratulations.
Both as a parent or as an employee who worked too much, either way. But, I've really said, I'm going to sleep. I set a goal. Like I said earlier, I love to read. 100 books a year is my minimum. So I keep a tracker, and Am I? So I'm at 42 right now, completed
Pretty good.
for the year. So
Right
on
off.
track.
You only ate
On
off
track?
the pace.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
like-
But some years I make it, some years I don't. But it's okay. I set a goal. My children know about it. It inspires them. We set goals for them that are appropriate. And we have a conversation about it. And it's something, I'm always learning something new. I have something new to talk about. And it's a great, for me, escapism.
Can I come live in your household, please? I want
Pretty
you to
awesome
help me with
place.
my
And my
goals.
husband's an amazing cook. So it's a bonus.
Even better.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Making connections. That's great. Hey, before I want to switch gears a little bit, and we're getting actually close to the end of our questions, but I wanted to ask another question that we didn't really touch on, because you do have such an interesting career history with AWS. And you've told me this story kind of before, but you did something very unique with AWS. You were working on the first business associate to be up on the public cloud on AWS. Can you tell us what that was like? Because, and I know that's probably nitty gritty for some specific details, so you might want to give a little bit of background about what that means. But we talk about digital transformation a lot, and we tend to focus on the sexy technology, the AIs and this and that. But people tend to forget that one of the main components of digital transformation is the ability to handle computation at scale. And that means the public cloud. And it's very recent that we've had healthcare in the public cloud like that. So can you share your experience there?
Predates. So I was at Boston Children's Hospital and was brought into the genomics program, both clinical and research, to work on a bioinformatics pipeline creation. And like all good resource constrained things, we had enough money to do one pipeline, not enough people get it done. When we did it, we decided to spin it as a separate company. So instead of being the genetics lab in Boston Children's, we spun a company called Claritas Genomics. But what that really meant was we lost Harvard infrastructure. So I was the director of IT at the time in the spin out, and I priced out what people priced out at the time: Dell, EMC, hardware. Came back with a quote to my board, who laughed at me, completely and utterly cackled, and said, "Nice try. This is startup money. Go do it again." Because it was over $5 million. It's genetics. It was big, heavy iron. At that point, AWS was just getting started. They were in education. So they had a relationship with Harvard Business School. I got connected with them and we did some analysis. And we started talking about the legal side of it, because as you said, technology can be sexy, but you need to get the legal in place, the security in place. And when you're Harvard Med School and Boston Children's Hospital, the risk analysis is really important and crucial. So we went through it, made the proposal. We said, yeah, we're going to try this cloud thing. And I went through negotiations for the business associate addendum, because Amazon does not have a business associate agreement. They have a business associate addendum to their other contracts. And we signed the first one. And we, as Claritas Genomics, put the first HIPAA data in AWS. Now, not only are we putting genetics data in, we're putting children's genetic data in. So we really need to be secure, because the legalese on that is 21 years of data retention due to malpractice lawsuits. So not only do I have to be secure, I got to keep it secure for a really long time. So when I get down to the gist of what did that mean, it means I paid a lot of lawyer fees. There was a lot of negotiations. It took a long time. It still often takes way too long for founders and startups to get into enterprise healthcare because of legal agreements. But we did it. And what did that allow us to do? To your point, it's big compute. At that time, if you had a genetic profile done on your child because of a diagnostic odyssey, you didn't know what was wrong, often it took 6 months to return an answer. Now, if you have a sick child and you're sitting for 6 months waiting, it's horrifying, let alone what is the care the child's getting. We got it down to 6 weeks with a new patented technology with multiple sequencing, but using computation in the cloud. Then we got it down to 6 days. Now Rady Children's out in California can do it in a day for a NICU baby. It's unbelievable. But that's where the power of the cloud and public cloud in a secure way literally changes lives, how we care for people, and the entire life of a human being.
It's something that we actually take for granted now that we're throwing healthcare into the cloud, right? And the need for big compute like that has led us to 3 mega corporations controlling healthcare data in a way that we'd never imagined before. And it's just it's so interesting to see the industry from then to now. And you were there at the forefront, and that's very exciting.
But I think about it, even when I was at Harvard at Boston Children's, you could go to the data center. I used to call it the blinking light tour. You go in, you saw the lights and the wires, and you want to talk about unsecure. All I needed was one person to reach up and touch something and unplug it, and all havoc would go. The whole idea of the cloud, of having that security and stuff, everybody's like, well, I can't touch it anymore. I'm like, exactly. That seems a whole lot better, doesn't it? It's the idea that I don't have a strange person walking into a data center that I can't see at this moment who could unplug something and I would have no idea what just happened. So I think the auditability, the trackability, all of those are things that we never had. Even just basic inventory of machines, we never had. Or in academia, what researcher had how many boxes underneath their desk, probably sitting next to the wet lab that was being controlled not by central IT? Unknown.
Yeah. Wild West. Love it.
Wild, wild, wild West.
So Elizabeth, what would be your call to action for founders or not just founders, for the whole digital health industry, right? We are the best podcast out there with respect to the digital health industry. So this is the opportunity to talk to... Obviously.
That's why I'm here.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have accepted an interview for anywhere else. Let's be honest.
Yeah, who cares about Becker's?
I mean, my next is Health Europe with the ministers of health of most EU countries for the day. So obviously that's why I'm here too.
Obviously,
for sure. What is your call to action for the digital health industry?
All right. I feel incredibly strong about this statement. Talk to who you're designing for. Know the problem they need solved, not just the problem you see or you think you need to solve for. Assume nothing. Actively disprove what you do believe to find the answer of what you are solving for.
Say that again for the folks in the back.
Talk to people. Talk to who you are designing for. Ask the question. What is the worst part of your day? Solve for that.
In healthcare, we call that community engaged research. But, in industry, we call it human-centered design. I mean, people know how to do this. It's just a question of operationalizing it, right? It's baking it into your process in every possible way, right? And it's really sad that we still have to talk about it on every episode. But we're happy to do that. Crack the whip for everybody who's listening.
Heck yeah.
But what we're seeing in the industry, I'm seeing people who are out raising successfully, who have no idea how to sell their product or never product market fit their product. And it's great that you have the funding, but if you can't sell it and move it forward, so what?
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us here on Tech It to the Limit. Some of these are amazing lessons learned for founders in this industry. You have a wealth of experience bringing practical acceleration to the digital health industry. So anyway, well, thank you, Elizabeth, so much for joining Sarah and me on Tech It to the Limit. We have really enjoyed having you here and hearing these amazing lessons learned for founders.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Stick around, folks. We'll be right back. Are you a digital health founder losing sleep, hair, and whatever's left of your Series A trying to answer one simple question? Will any of this actually matter? Well, now thanks to Endstate.ai, the first founder-facing AI-enhanced trauma-aligned clairvoyant modeling tool, you can fast-forward 10 years to see whether you're destined for unicorn status or still pitching at invite-only coffee shops with bad Wi-Fi. Using our proprietary Hindsight as a Service, Endstate.ai integrates your current burn rate, emotional volatility index, board meeting Slack DMs, the exact number of nights you've cried into your laptop, and our proprietary sweat-to-delusion ratio, all to produce a beautifully rendered, immersive vision of your future. IPO or personal bankruptcy? The cover of Fast Company? Or a Substack post with 17 views? Gen AI-driven value-based transformation?
or a white-labeled symptom checker with a TikTok strategy. Endstate.ai doesn't just show you your destiny, it tells you whether it's worth it. One actual, real-life, not made-up-at-all founder is quoted as saying, "Thanks to Endstate.ai, I knew whether to raise a bridge round or just bridge my career into consulting." Side effects may include existential crises, investor ghosting, LinkedIn humble brags, an uncontrollable urge to pivot, and spontaneous podcast creation. Endstate.ai is not FDA approved, but it has been blessed by your executive coach. Text "Am I a Unicorn" to 404-404-4040 to begin your visionary spiral today. Endstate.ai, the exit strategy for your optimism.
Welcome back to Tech It to the Limit, listeners. That was such a great interview with Elizabeth. She is a wealth of knowledge around the digital health startup space. Really incredible to have her on. But now it is time to take a bite out of some Wise Nugs, our trademark, patent pending, delicious snack of wisdom nuggets that we love to nosh on at the end of each episode. So, Sarah, do you have a fresh plate of hot, steamy nugs for us?
I do, and a side of dipping sauce.
Yes.
Really excited to dig into my morning meal here. Wise Nuts for brunch, always a good thing.
It's an Independence Day breakfast of champions.
Right? Or millennials. All right. So I've got two nuggets coming at you, listeners. The first that really stuck with me from Elizabeth's interview was her line. Not the first time I've heard it, but definitely an excellent reminder that doing good and making money are not mutually exclusive, especially in healthcare. It's not just a feel-good sentiment, it's a smart strategy. She reminded us that people that we often label as air quotes minorities, such as Black, Indigenous, Latinx, women, people with disabilities, LGBTQ+, they actually make up over half the population. She quoted close to 70%. That is not a niche. That's a collection of untapped markets. And if you've ever done product strategy 101, you know that the goal is to segment the market, identify where the unmet need is, and go build there. So when we design health tech for people at the air quotes margins, that's user-centered design. It's individualized medicine. So the next time somebody tells you that equity is just a trade-off, remind them value lives in the gaps, and those gaps are really massive still. The second nugget I have to nosh on, a little bit different sauce, maybe some honey mustard this time. Started with the garlic aioli. I'm going to focus more on what Elizabeth shared in terms of the day in the life of the founder and how she stays sane in this really fast-paced environment.
Yeah.
I love when she's like, what even is a typical day? I feel that in the depths of my soul calendar, okay? It is such a sharp reminder that success isn't about grinding through someone else's expectations. It's about intentionally designing a life that lets you live the kind of day you actually want to wake up to. And her insight reminded me of one of the favorite writers and podcast co-hosts that I have. His name is Ryan Holiday. He wrote The Daily Stoic. One of his central ideas is don't chase the life you think you should want or that society expects you to have. Build the day that you want to live. And so Elizabeth is kind of getting at this, like, let's not glorify burnout and try to do it all. She's building a sustainable company that aligns with her values, her current energy level, and the season that she's in life. Also, the support systems that she had. She mentioned her husband and the role he plays in the family. That's not soft. That's really savvy. So here's your challenge, listeners. Create the habits, the routines, the boundaries that help you live your best day every day. Don't just optimize your schedule, align it to that overall strategy you have as a person, because you're not just building a business or a brand, you're hopefully building a lifestyle or a platform that allows you to live the way you want to every day.
Yes, preach it.
Preach.
Let
me step off my soapbox.
Yes, no, that was tasty.
You can
It was
get up.
like it came with a side of fries. I love that.
Ooh, yeah.
I took away something very similar. She had this phrase that just stuck with me. Clarity is kindness. We talk a lot in this industry, in startups and leadership circles around communication. And she reframed that really nicely. I mean, she talked about how early on she and her husband sat down and literally negotiated their lives together. You know, where they'd live, who's going to handle what does success look like for them together as a team, right? She blocks time for dinner. She plays board games with her kids. I would love to do that if I could get them to sit down for like 5 minutes, right?
She didn't mention the Benadryl part.
Right. I mean, she communicates those boundaries with her family and with her co-founder, right? That's part of the clarity is kindness, right? And she does it without an apology, but it's a design choice. But she takes it a step further. She reminds us to negotiate with ourselves too, not just with others. And I think that's really important. And so that whole concept, clarity is kindness, negotiate with yourself, right? That's now living in my mind rent free. Because we spend so much time tiptoeing around needs in assuming other people are going to like just get it. They'll know, right? And they won't. So say what you need, make it known, and then make it yours. So that was my first nugget from her. The second one was this myth that like the idea that your career has to follow some like logical LinkedIn approved like trajectory, right? Like, you have some like kind of FOMO of like LinkedIn and where you're supposed to go. And she described her journey. I loved this analogy. She described her journey as a game of chutes and ladders, right? It zigs, it zags, it drops you on your face and shoots you out into the clouds sometimes. And she owns all of it. That's not a failure. That's momentum with texture. You know, we've built this like toxic idea that if you step sideways through your career or take a beat or do something that's like non-traditional, you've somehow like fallen behind. But honestly, that's where the good stuff happens. That's where growth happens. That's where range and resiliency comes from. So my nuggets that I took away, if you're out there grinding, founding, leading, parenting, whatever, figuring it out, right? Just remember, clarity is kindness, and your path doesn't have to be straight. It just needs to be yours.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I was jazzed up.
That's wicked. Quote card for social. Can picture it in my mind. Okay. Oh, well, that's our show for today, folks. Follow us on LinkedIn. Leave us a birthday review wherever you pod. 5 stars, baby.
Great present idea.
Right? All I want for my birthday is 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
And a review.
And a review. Maybe 10,000. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, just tell someone that you listen to the show, and they should too. Elliott, you want to take it away with our health tech haiku sign off?
There is nothing I would rather do right now. Here we go. Ready?
Ready.
No typical day. Margins are where the value lives. Build slow, build for all.
I don't even know what to say after that.
Happy birthday, Sarah.
Happy birthday, buddy. Love you. Thanks, listeners, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye. See you next time.